good afternoon, and welcome to the Boise Metro Chamber's Legislative Update Series. I'm Tori Thomas, Community and Government Affairs Manager here at the Chamber, and your host for today's event. The Boise Metro Chamber is Idaho's only 5-star accredited chamber and represents nearly 2,000 members. We are only able to provide current events and educational content because of our members and their investment in our community. Before I introduce our panelists for today, I want to thank Optum Idaho for their generous support. Please enjoy this quick video from our sponsor.
Taking time for yourself can help with a good mental health balance. Optum's Able To app can also help you reach good mental health, and people are getting great results from this free wellness app. Learn more at optumidaho.com.
All right, well, for today's update, we are joined by Wendi Secrist, Executive Director of the Idaho Workforce Development Council. Hi, Wendi. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, Tori. Thanks for having me today.
Yes. So Director Wendi Secrist was appointed Executive Director of the Workforce Development Council in 2017 by Governor Butch Otter. She has worked in the private sector for state and local governments, nonprofits, and education. When her children ask what she does for a living, she sums it up as helping Idahoans get good jobs. So thank you again for being here with us. We're really excited to have this conversation with you.
Great. No, my kids actually think that I just email all day. That's what they really think that I do. But
That's so funny you say. I just had a conversation with my siblings and they're all like, so what do you do? Like, what's your day to day? And I'm like, I do this, I did that. And they're like, okay. Like, and I keep saying, I'm like, I should do a day in the life. So, know, but it would just probably be a bunch of emails.
Bunch of emails, meetings, phone calls.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, it's fun to us, so no one else is there. Yeah. Well, let's get started about Idaho Launch. You and I had a couple minutes before the show to chat, and I'm just really looking forward to chatting with you a little about this. So I kind of want to take us back to the beginning and just kind of do a breakdown of Idaho Launch for our viewers that, might not know exactly how this came to be or started the conversation, or maybe don't even exactly know what the grant program is. So, starting in the special session in 2022, this was brought forth. Can you share with us a little bit about that conversation and then what exactly Idaho Launch is and what it will do for our state? Sorry, that was a very long question.
That's okay. So in the special session in 2022, when the legislature came in and did some pretty major tax updates, they set aside $80 million a year for an in-demand career fund. And at that time, they didn't define what the in-demand career fund would do. So it just, directed the state to, put $80 million a year into this fund. And also with that was a significant amount. I'm going to get the number wrong. I think another $320 million for K-12 education. So then in the session, early session 2023, the governor in his State of the State address announced that the in-demand career fund would be used for Idaho Launch grants for graduating high school seniors, starting with the class of 2024. And the grant program is really designed to encourage our youth and all Idahoans really to pursue post-secondary education and training that's aligned to an in-demand career. One of the unique things about Launch is that it encompasses all types of post-secondary education. So we are going to be, funding grants for folks that are going through apprenticeship programs, coding boot camps, short-term industry certifications, and all the way up to bachelor degrees. When you look at other states, other, cities and so forth that have, specific programs designed to help boost their go-on rate, a lot of them are really focused on that traditional college experience. And what we want is for our kids, our youth, to know that there are many pathways to careers, that, we're gonna support them and we're going to celebrate their success, whether they do a 6-week CNA program as a starting point, into a healthcare career, all the way up to a mechanical engineering or a nuclear engineering degree. So the grants are available to graduating high school seniors, starting with the class of 2024, and we're able to serve public, private, homeschools. We're also able to provide grants to individuals who are under 21 that are getting their GED. So it's really open. It's not emphasizing one part of our youth over another. And the grants provide $8,000 for tuition and fees. The kids have to contribute 20% of the funding. So the $8,000 cap is a max of 80% of their tuition and fees. And prior to receiving a grant, they have to do a certain set of career exploration activities so that we can, we know that they have an idea of where they want to head.
So interesting. I love that it's obviously it's so open to any high school graduate that's interested in this opportunity and interested in a career. Like when I was getting out of high school, if I would have known going into the trades was going to be appreciated or even encouraged, I would have been all for it. But that wasn't the conversation back in the day. It was very much like, no, you only go to this or you only do this. So I think it's, and that's obviously very valid. There's a lot of great 4-year degrees and, opportunities, but being open to so many other opportunities is really great. I love that. Well, how many students have applied so far? Have you had a good response with that?
We've had a tremendous response. The responses exceeded our expectations. So as of yesterday, I pulled the numbers. We've had 13,400 students apply. And just for context, Idaho's graduating class of seniors for 2024 is about 21,000 students. So with that number, about 7,000 of them are females and 6,300 are males. And that distinction between males and females is kind of important because we don't typically see as many males go on to traditional college, right? To traditional post-secondary programs as we do females. And normally there'd be, if you look at the data over the past number of years, there's about a 10% gap between males and females. And one of the cool things that we're watching with Launch is that gap has, shrunk a little bit to about 5%. So we're anticipating that we're going to help to even close it further because we are including those options that might be a little more attractive to young males who don't think of themselves as college material, and especially those that don't have a higher GPA that they think that they need in order to whether even go on to a community college or a 4-year institution. So we're really excited to see the opportunities, see that it's more than just the typical students that would have applied to go on to post-secondary education.
That's really exciting to hear. I think, the chamber has obviously been a supporter of this all along. And I think it's so great to hear that we have so much success in how many kids want to be a part of it. I mentioned my sister's boyfriend applied for it as well. And I've talked to a couple other parents that their kids have applied. And I just think, it's so cool. It's, why not try to keep Idaho kids here? So you have 13,000. How many, did you mention how many kids are able to receive this? If everything goes through, how many students would be able to?
Yeah, we anticipate we're only going to be able to award 9,000 grants, which means that we have to prioritize, and that's rough. We want to be able to support all of these kids, but we're definitely going to have to go through a prioritization.
Yeah. That's definitely the downside of that, but it's still, 9,000 kids. That's just such a great opportunity. And like you mentioned, a lot of them might even be kids that didn't even think they wanted to go on or even have the idea that it would be an option. So it's really neat to hear that they've all, that so many people have been interested. So
let me tell you, if you don't mind, I'm going to sneak in a little story here. I was with the governor first week of January. We were in North Idaho and had an opportunity to meet a couple of students who had applied for Launch and had received our contingent offers in the first round. And there was a young lady who mentioned to us that she had not planned to go on. She did not think she could afford it, that her counselor had really encouraged her to, think about what she could do if she were to receive a launch grant. And so she applied and selected that she was going to do a dental assisting program. And she said that when she got the letter right around Christmas, when we sent out those first contingent offers, she said she was just so thrilled that she thought long and hard about it. And she said, I'm going to go farther. I'm going to do a dental hygiene degree, which we need dental hygienists throughout the state. And, just to see that could open up somebody's eyes, that they can do more, and that financial barrier isn't, it shouldn't get in the way of them being able to achieve that. So just that decision between dental assisting and dental hygiene, dental assistant in North Idaho should probably make around $18, $20 an hour. A dental hygienist in North Idaho makes around $45 an hour. It's life-changing for her.
That's so cool too, because I think so many times you connect it to a high school student or, someone not being motivated. It's like, oh, I don't want to do this, but really there's so much of that financial burden that comes down on them. And they just think whatever gets me, the quickest out of school with the least amount of debt, then I'll get to work. And it's so neat to hear that. Financial burden aside, get that out of the way. Where would you be? And it's really neat to see that motivation is obviously still there. So yes. I love that. And you guys did quite a bit of a tour, right? You spoke to a lot of students, not just that young gal.
Oh my goodness. We've been all over the state. My team has done a tremendous job. My team, the governor's office, the State Board of Education. I mean, there's just been this huge effort to get out and really to get out and work with the college and career advisors in the high schools, because they're the ones that are working with those kids every single day. And it requires a trusted adult, right, to have that type of conversation with them. So we have worked really hard we put together a playbook for the college and career advisors, giving them all the information, not only on launch, but other programs that they need so that they can go in, have those, assemblies, conversations, and so forth. We've gotten the governor or the lieutenant governor to attend a huge number of them across the state. And then just ambassadors like the Boise Chamber and others. You guys have all been tremendous in helping to spread the word.
Oh, the governor's office, your guys' office, it's been amazing to see. We just posted a graphic on social media, and so I went to go check out the hashtag to see if there was anything specific that we should be including or who all was doing it. And oh my gosh, like the support from the community is amazing. It's so great to see that. And all the communication from all of you. We had the governor's office join us a couple meetings. You've joined our education and workforce committee meetings. You guys have done a phenomenal job on getting all this information out. So speaking of colleges, how has that response been with having new students come in and kind of a guarantee on having a few students join? How are they feeling prepared and ready?
Yeah, at the same time that we've been having all of the conversations with the college and career advisors in the high schools, we've also been having conversations with the institutions, with, and public and private training providers, right? Because it's not just our, traditional 2- and 4-year colleges that are eligible, but truck driving schools, cosmetology schools, dental assisting schools, lineman colleges and schools are all eligible for launch. And so we've been having an ongoing dialogue with the schools to make sure that they're aware. So since we made that first round of contingent offers, we've been sharing with them how many students are indicating that they're planning to come to them. We've been working with them. This is change management, right? Like this is an enormous project because, come July 1st, when, funding flows into the program, we're going to start having institutions and training providers invoice us for the training costs. And so we have to get a new grant management platform in place, and we've got to, work to make sure that process isn't cumbersome to the training providers, and that, and that they're well informed. And so we've been doing a lot of work with them, a lot of work to, engage them in the process. Once these kids have accepted their contingent offer for an institution, we're sharing their contact information with that institution because we want them to help get them across the finish line, to help, remove any barriers to, getting them enrolled, whether it be for, July 10th or September 15th, whenever they're going to start their training program. But we want to engage them in helping to support these students. One of the challenges, though, is the capacity of the institutions. And that's it's a real challenge, right? Not all of the institutions are going to have capacity to add, all of these additional students. And one of the things that we've done with the program is we have the ability to grant extensions for certain, extenuating circumstances, because the statute says that they have to start fall semester following high school graduation. It does not allow for a gap year. So if a student isn't able to get into the program, so let's say they want to go to the College of Western Idaho and start the welding program there, they are able to, if we can get a letter from the College of Western Idaho saying, yep, we've got them, they're coming in February, that's fine. We're giving them that extension and making sure that they're able to pursue their dreams. And but it's something that we're all going to have to work on with the institutions over the coming years, as to how do we align that demand with the programs that they offer.
I'm happy to hear that there's obviously a lot of collaboration with everyone, and all around just sounds like a great opportunity for everything. But yeah, I think the capacity, I think that's a really great thing to add in there, to give them a little bit of extra time if they need to wait to get into certain programs. So I think that's a great opportunity for them to continue to still get it, but have to, start a little later. So, well, speaking of the careers that they're going into, this one of the conditions, or I don't know if you'd call it a condition, but it says it's an in-demand career that they can get into. How is an in-demand career identified? Is it specific towards state, or how do you go about identifying that?
Sure. So that's one of the things that comes out of the statute. The statute that the legislature passed last year gave us the ability to use number of job openings or job growth rate. So we spend a lot of time looking at different ways to kind of slice and dice the data. And one of the things really, really important to the council is to always be data driven, right? That we're not just, making a decision, oh, we like this and we don't like that, and so forth. So being very data driven, looking at the number of job openings statewide. So rather than, trying to do it at regional levels, it actually ends up making more sense to set a statewide threshold, because we looked at both options. But any job that has more than 50 annual openings on a statewide basis is what is included in that. So that sets the baseline, right? You've got to be 50 or more annual openings. And then we apply a factor of that they need to require some level of training, right? There's certain jobs that don't require any additional training. And that all kind of sorts itself out because of the, programs that the institutions and so forth offer. So we match those in-demand occupations to programs. And then the programs are what the applicants choose. So they say, I want to go to, the Northwest Lineman College and, become a lineman. And, so then that is eligible. So that's how we set that threshold. And that may be open for refinement in the coming years. And we certainly wouldn't mind an opportunity to, kind of use some other factors and do that. But we've, given what we're asked to do, that 50 or more job openings statewide was what turned out to be really the best option.
That's so interesting. Obviously, it really opens the door. Like you said, you might have to change it, but it really opens the door to the growth of our state and continuously looking at that and ensuring that we're looking at in-demand careers that are changing and growing. And it's good for our state. It's good for our state to offer this as an in-demand focus, but it's also good for these students that get out of school, knowing that if it's in demand, hopefully and most likely they'll be able to find a job.
Right, because that's what you don't want to do. And that's what I think a lot of the, national dialogue about, student loan debt and, people going into programs that aren't connected to a career. And, they're having that connection to a career, having that connection to credentials or, industry certifications that are going to help you land that job. It's not the degree that's the outcome. It's the career, right? That's what is going to, provide the ability for, people to sustain not only themselves, but their future families and, and be good, citizens in Idaho and, fill all of the openings that our employers need them to fill. And so that connection to the career, I mean, if you step back and say, well, why is the Workforce Development Council running this program, right? It's because it needs to be connected to a career. We got to connect education to careers, and we got to make sure that our youth see those opportunities and that they see that there's, that there's movement, through that, right? I mentioned earlier the CNA example. You may have somebody who wants to be a CNA and that's what they want to be for the rest of their life. And that's fabulous because we need CNAs. We have an aging population and we need them. But a CNA is required to get into nursing school. You want to be an LPN, an RN, you need to have a CNA first. And so, that CNA, they can leverage that. And if you think about like from the standpoint of, student loan debt and so forth, or even like somebody who wants to become a doctor, right? They get their CNA first, they can work while they're continuing to go to school and help cover the cost and maybe not take so much student loan, debt on. And, but it's about building those pathways and, really making sure that career is the goal.
Yeah, totally. Having them, it comes back to that dental assistant versus dentist. Even if that gal wanted to go into dental assistance and then she was like, got into it and was like, this is great. I had my launch program that helped me get into this. And then, 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, she's like, well, why not go for it? And now I have this training to be able to afford this. Like it just opens so many doors and it's so cool.
And her employer would probably help, pay for the dental hygiene program, right? I mean, that's the other beauty of it is that, the employers are able, if they can get good talent in, then they're going to help grow the talent. So,
yeah, totally. And your workforce comment, that's obviously one of the biggest reasons why the chamber is in support of it. We want a thriving business community. That's one of the things that we always advocate for, especially during the session, is to make sure our business community is strong and people want to be in Idaho, working in here, working for our state. So, I think it's, it's a no-brainer for me that you all would have this behind you.
I think it makes sense too. Yeah. And we're super passionate about and love what we're doing.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that, and we can see that in you guys. So we appreciate all the work that you do. Okay, so speaking of all of the degrees and programs, you have some really great slides that show what these students are applying for, and I think we'll get those pulled up. We'd love for you to kind of go over these. I think this data is so interesting.
Yeah. So the slide that's showing right now, and I think it's going to go full screen here in just a second, but if not, this works as well. It just shows the number of applications and excuse me, this data I think was February 1st data. So probably in, a few less than what I mentioned at the beginning for applicants, but this shows we're kind of rolling it into different types of programs that the students are interested in. So when they apply, they have to select which institution and which program. And then, what we're seeing is that healthcare is really popular among our youth, and that is important. Our healthcare industry is in a crisis right now with workforce. So the highest number of students are choosing healthcare technician roles, nursing, the biological science. That's a lot of the, kind of pre-med, pre-dental, occupational therapy, speech therapist types of programs. And then you see, business and engineering, and you get into teaching, right? If we don't have teachers, we're not going to have a workforce. So really good to see that, they're interested in in teaching. And then you start getting into, some of the trades. So auto techs and IT, welding, cosmetology, law enforcement, and construction trades. So that kind of rounds out the programs that they're interested in. And then if you go to the next slide, it kind of rolls it up by industry. So let's see if I can get that switched over there. Yeah. So, again, like I said, healthcare is really kind of the top industry. But then when we put like construction, engineering, and transportation manufacturing together, because a lot of those jobs are really connected to one another from a skills standpoint, that comes out to the next highest area. But it is, I have to say, it is fun watching the data come in and being able to see what these kids are choosing. One other slide that I would point out is go back 2 slides, the one with the big orange box. Yeah. So that one, I talked earlier about like this is change management, right? We're changing, perceptions and behaviors about, types of jobs. You mentioned, Tori, that if you had known that, trades, were really an opportunity, but you probably, definitely me, we were told you got to go get a 4-year degree, right? That's what you go to college, you get a 4-year degree, and then your life will be okay. And, it's going to take time to shift to show these kids that there are these other options. And so, we're looking at, what the behavior is this very first year of launch, and it's definitely 4-year heavy, right? Got to go get that 4-year degree. But I'll tell you, last year, when we looked at the spread between what kids were applying for between bachelor and associate degrees, because the state board of education doesn't have the data on the non-credit workforce training types of programs that you see on the right side. But that split was about 72% were headed towards a bachelor's degree, whereas we're at 55%. So starting to see some shift, and that's what we want to continue to do. We need more bachelor's degrees, but let's make sure that kids know all of the opportunities that are available for them.
Oh, that's so cool. Thanks, Paul, for getting those slides up. We appreciate it. That's so interesting. I love that data. I think it's so cool. And, healthcare is obviously a really needed thing. But so is all those trades that
is manufacturing. So is, everything in Idaho. And demographically, we just don't have enough people entering the labor force to meet the job growth. And so what happens? What happens if a business can't expand here? They have like 2 decisions to make. They either have to go somewhere else and find the talent, or they have to like stay, whatever size they are with the talent that they have. And we don't want that. We want them to continue to grow and thrive in the state.
Yeah. And we need them as homeowners, as business owners. We need people that are able to fix things and help us. Because as a recent homeowner myself, I don't know how to do anything. And I'm wishing that I would have had a couple trades in me to understand all of these basic living needs. And it's just, the conversation right now, I think at least all over my social media is like how to build communes and just live with a bunch of friends and family. But we don't need social media managers. Social media managers are necessary. We love them. But if you're trying to be self-sustainable,
it would be really nice to have some plumbing skills, wouldn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I'd love to be able to weld a table. That would be really great. Well, that's super cool. Thanks for sharing that data. It'll be really interesting to see, as this continues to develop, all that comes out, and the variety of these kids and what they're wanting to do. So, well, JFAC, the Joint Finance and Appropriations Committee, for anyone that doesn't know, passed that funding for Idaho Launch just this past Friday. So you kind of break down how that process has been going, the session, always interesting sessions every year. Can you break down how that's been for you guys? And then what do you think you're expecting going forward? What's the next step?
Yeah. There's certainly been a lot of dialogue, about launch and, coming into JFAC. I think, everyone was, kind of wondering, okay, what are they going to do? Are they going to, put the full amount? And the reason that, this year is kind of an interesting year, the In-Demand Career Fund was set up in 2022. In 2023, the legislation passed to establish the program, but it was what they did was put $5 million into our budget to provide some startup funding so that we could get all of the resources, the things that we need in place in order to fully start the program on July 1st of 2024. And so what we had to request in our budget was all of the grant funds to come into our budget. And so that's a line item, and line items certainly get a lot of scrutiny, and they should, because that's the job of the legislature. But asking for $70+ million, the remainder of the In-Demand Career Fund to be put into our budget to put the grants out has certainly, gendered a lot of conversations. So right now it's passed out of JFAC. So now it has to go, we don't know whether it'll go to the House or the Senate floor first, but it'll go one or the other, go to the other. And then ultimately our budget has to be signed into law by the governor. And so it's, there's a lot of voices out there that, maybe weren't thrilled with launch last year. As everyone knows, it passed the House by one vote and, came back and it was amended by the Senate. The governor recently, said that if legislators cut Idaho Launch funding, they'd be doing so at their own peril, because the interest has, really blown away the expectations. But we've been sharing information with legislators on how many, students in their districts have, expressed interest, have applied for launch. And, we want to show that this isn't just something that's going to impact one part of the state or another, that this is truly an all Idaho effort, and, make sure that we get that funding across the finish line and we're able to start awarding grants in July. So we're watching at this point.
We are too. Yes, that's I think there's obviously a lot of support, and then a lot of people that are questioning if it's the right move for the state, and which is valid. There's we appreciate the consideration that goes into everything, but I think hopefully we have enough supporters to believe in this and see it through. So we're really grateful for JPAC for making that decision on Friday, but obviously we're fingers are crossed, and we'll be watching for it. So, well, if everything goes according to plan and it gets passed and you're able to start, what does that look like for choosing students, getting them through the enrollment? I know you've been working with counselors with the schools. Can you break down that process that these students might be able to expect?
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, we've already made the first round of contingent awards. And so in statute said that we had to make our first round of announcements by December 31st. And so we decided to be conservative, and we sent out about 6,700 contingent award letters. And the reason that they're contingent is that these kids have to graduate from high school and they have to complete their career pathway plan. So once they submit the application, they're not done. They still have a couple of things that they have to check off the list in order to be able to be finalized for the awards. So right now we're working on making that second round of contingent awards. And then our grant deadline is April 15th. And so we'll have all of the contingent offers out by, probably mid-May. And then as soon as these kids graduate and, we see that they've completed their career pathway plans, then we'll be able to go ahead and finalize those awards. And so they'll have to, there's a process, right? We got to go through and have them formally accept their awards and, get the paperwork all in order, if you will, and then make sure we're ready to start awarding the funds to the institutions. The money never goes into the kids' hands. It'll never touch the students. So they end up with a grant account on our grant management system. And as the institution that they are going to, as they're going through their program, they'll bill us and we'll reimburse the institution. So that was something that I think that the legislature was really, concerned about, something that we're, from a fiscal responsibility standpoint, the Workforce Development Council, we wanted to make sure that, we weren't setting up a system that, would be, considered or be open to fraud and not that people can't figure ways around systems, but we're trying to set this all up in a way that we eliminate as much of that risk as possible. So the other part of it is that, we've got 13,000 plus applications, and we're only going to be able to make about 9,000 awards. And so as we're going through this contingent offer process, we're having to prioritize towards those in-demand careers. And it's pretty simple. We're starting at the top. The students that are selecting programs that lead to careers with higher number of openings are getting prioritized over other students. And so we'll just continue to go down that list as we, finalize all of the offers, and then we have no historical data to know how many kids are going to accept their award and then not show up in September if they're planning to go to a traditional. I mentioned the extensions. If somebody's going on doing religious service or going into the military or has a medical issue or Peace Corps or AmeriCorps, those are all valid reasons for them to get an extension for their launch grant. And so we don't know what percentage of them are going to do that. So we anticipate a process where over the summer, we're going to be continuing to work our way down the list and making awards to students, because we just don't have the data yet to be able to say, okay, we can, if we know we're going to have 9,000 awards, we can make 10,500 offers because we know, 1,500 of them will drop off. So that's where we're at right now, and we'll have to continue to track that data so that in future years we get a little bit more refined as to how we do the process.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no historical data whatsoever. No, you're not even exactly sure what will come out of this, and
it's the behavior of 18-year-olds, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, there's so much unknown in their lives, and they're just.
I have an 18-year-old, and there's nothing predictable.
Oh my gosh. I was an 18-year-old, and I have an 18-year-old sister, 19-year-old sister. So I definitely know that. I'm like, what are you up to? What's your plan?
I don't know.
I'm like, that's fine. I did not have a plan when I was at 19 either. So don't.
Yeah.
But no, there's just so much unknown with that. So if, even the 6,000, the 6,700, first responders to that, if say they decide not to take it, and then other ones, the process this summer will be to reach out to the kids that didn't. Okay.
Yeah, we've been communicating with all of them. So we had 11,500 applications, I think, when we made that first round of awards. And we communicated with all of those kids, and we told them, so either, they got an offer, or we told them that they were on the wait list, or there were about 600 of them that weren't going to be eligible just because the program that they were selecting at a community college wasn't in demand. And so we knew we wouldn't be able to offer a grant to them because of the prioritization. So that's our goal, is to continue to communicate as we go through this. We'll, make this next round of offers in March and communicate again to the ones that, hey, you're still on the list. We haven't, you haven't been excluded from the program, but just be patient. We're continuing to work our way down.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that'll be a really interesting conversation. We'll have to have you come back in the summertime, or maybe after the summer. Maybe we'll do like a happy hour version and see how you're feeling. And
I love that idea.
Oh my gosh. Well, you guys are in for a big haul, and we appreciate everything that you guys are up to. And if, whatever the chamber can continue to do to support this, we are all in. And with that, I'll just ask one more question on how can our listeners get involved? There's obviously social media that you can get involved with, but what's another opportunity that people can make sure they show their support for this program?
Yeah, there's really two things that I would, ask folks to think about. And, Launch is, this is such a transformational program that's going to sustain our economic growth in the future as a state. Human capital is the defining, criteria for business success. If you don't have talent, you don't have the ability to deliver products, services, whatever. So, sharing your support for the program with legislators, with, other stakeholders. I mean, obviously that is hugely important as we can, continue down the funding path here and get the budget bill across the finish line. The other thing that, just because we have 13,400 applicants already, it doesn't mean that it's too late for youth to apply. Traditionally, the youth that don't have those plans, that, don't feel like they're college material, haven't made a plan, aren't necessarily interested in the traditional, experiences, they may not have applied yet. And I would please reach out to your networks and encourage them to apply, because it's getting prioritized against in-demand careers. It isn't a first come, first serve. The kids that applied, and hit that November 30th priority deadline, that's not a guarantee that they'll get a grant. And so, helping us reach those kids that are really hard to reach is well, the other thing that you can do. So, sharing information, if you're a business owner, share it with your employees, right? You probably have some employees who are parents of a high school senior, share it with colleagues, share it within your own families and networks that, there's still an opportunity for a kid to apply, because we want to make sure that, they know that Idaho supports them in every direction.
Great. Thank you for that. Yes. We are encouraging folks, and that was a perfect plug for that. I think that's a good reminder too, as someone that, I've been in these conversations for a while, obviously not as in depth as you have been, but yeah, I guess, sometimes you're like, oh, it's already a lot of applications for this, but it's good to know that, it's based on in-demand need. And so, yeah, definitely don't hesitate to get those applications in. So, well, thank you.
Make sure that your sister's boyfriend gets his application in, right? Don't,
yeah. Oh yeah, totally. I think, it's just so many people. I'm going to start bugging a bunch of parents that I know and just telling people to get those applications in. We need good people in Idaho to stay here and want to live here and want to work here. And this is really great. So we appreciate everything that you and your team are doing, and we appreciate everything that the governor has done to move this forward. And we look forward to the legislature making their decision, and hopefully it's a good one. And with that, we appreciate your time and look forward to talking with you again soon. So
thanks, Tori. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you to all of our listeners. Thank you to our sponsor, Optum Idaho, and also our media partners, Idaho Ed News, Idaho Capital Sun, Idaho Press, and Idaho Statesman. We have 2 more legislative update episodes coming to you during the legislature, so we'll update you on that. And until then, have a great week.